In 1972, an LSD enthusiast named Eric Lee Purkhiser picked up a hitchhiker in Sacramento, California named Christy Wallace. Their encounter that day was brief, but as fate would have it, they would have another run-in 2 weeks later once they realized they were both enrolled in the same arts and shamanism course at Sacramento City College. The pair soon fell in love and bonded over their love of blues, old-school rockabilly records, B-movie horror, and glam rock, which led them to the conclusion that they should form a band of their own that combined all of those sensibilities. Purkhiser adopted multiple stage names from Vip Vop to Raven Beauty before settling on Lux Interior, which he got from a car commercial, and Christy adopted the name Poison Ivy Rorschach after the inventor of the Rorschach test, and they named their band the Cramps. The two soon relocated to Akron, Ohio for a year and a half where they practiced honing their sound, and soon made their way to New York in 1975 where they quickly became regulars at Maxis Kansas City and CBGB. The band went through various lineup changes through the years, recruiting Brian Gregory as a second guitarist who was then replaced by Kid Congo Powers from the Gun Club, and bassists Jennifer Furr Dixon and Candy Del Mar. Pam Bellum and Miriam Linna, the founder of Norton Records, both served short stints as drummers for the Cramps before the band settled on Nicholas Stepanoff, who adopted the stage name Nick Knox. But Ivy and Lux were always at the helm. The band's grand emergence came in 1980 when they released their debut album, Songs the Lord Taught Us. The Cramps embraced and even exploited the old mythology of rock and roll as the devil's music, combining old-school rockabilly and punk sensibilities with garish, gothic imagery pulled from horror, as well as the campy flamboyance and non-conforming aesthetics of glam rock. Lux Interior's primal vocals and unhinged stage antics, as well as Poison Ivy's menacing riffs, all melded together to form an extremely innovative form of rock that would influence many future offshoots of glam punk, psychobilly, and goth rock. The Cramps' unapologetic embrasure of punk sensibilities and their fresh take on rock as a type of performance art was what kept them relevant for over 4 decades. Poison Ivy's sinister riffs on songs like I Was a Teenage Werewolf echoed the playing of one of her guitar idols, Link Wray, whose iconic, menacing instrumental, Rumble, was banned from several radio stations out of fear that it would incite public uproar and even gang violence. I Was a Teenage Werewolf was a direct reference to the 1957 cult horror film starring Michael Landon about a mad scientist conducting an experiment on a young man to revert him back into his primitive state. Shock rock was obviously nothing new when the Cramps arrived on the scene. Lux Interior was a massive Alice Cooper fan who was already a master of the craft, as was the father of goth, Screamin' Jay Hawkins, whose unhinged vocals he echoed closely. But Interior brought a fresh new take to the art. He often wore the most uncomfortable of heels and the tightest catsuits, sometimes only appearing on stage in women's underwear while he performed these acts of unhinged hysteria on stage night after night. It was the oddest combination of shock rock and pure exploitative exhibitionism. People couldn't get enough of it. Many consider Poison Ivy to be one of the seminal guitarists to shape the sound of punk rock to come, by reviving so many of the unique and old-school single-note riffs that shaped so much of the blues and rockabilly. My brother played some guitar, and he taught me how to do the pipeline riffs and some chords. But other than that, I've never had any lessons. I just started picking out songs on my own. As Robert Moore wrote for She Shreds Media, Ivy set the standard for many punk guitarists, revving up comparably slow-chugging rockabilly and early rock and pop riffs. And, I mean, she's also obviously a fashion icon, but that's besides the point. But because this is the music industry and we all know the rocky relationship the music industry has with women, Poison Ivy's legacy is seldom recognized. Nobody ever talks to me about music or guitar. I'm the queen of rock and roll, and for that not to be recognized is pure sexism. And she has more than earned these bragging rights, for sure. Not only is she an incredibly versatile musician, occasionally balancing the roles of both guitar and bass for the band, she really knew what she was talking about. She was inspired to start playing after seeing a woman called the Duchess accompany Bo Diddley when he performed in her hometown in Sacramento, which gave her the confidence that she could do it as well. And she has no doubt been an incredible role model for so many young girls who have always wanted to pick up a guitar, but don't have enough women idols they can look up to in music or rock. The Cramps are one of the most legendary bands of all time. Their subversive mentality and output, as well as their passion for music's ability to transform lives and corrupt souls in the best ways possible, will always be timeless. They transcend space and time, and that is why people continue to discover them today, young people especially, and fall in love with them just as much as the crowds at CBGB and Max's Kansas City did when they first started performing.